And good morning. It's Sunday morning in the Eastern time zone. Whatever time zone you happen to be in, welcome to the show. You're in the sports wagering zone. We're coming to you live from Charlotte, North Carolina on the I-95 Sports and Entertainment Network, as well as podcasting on most of your major podcast platforms, such as Apple Podcast or Spotify or Google. And we're also on Blackjack TV back there on the East Coast. And, of course, we're on Mile High Radio in the Colorado area as well. So thank you very much for listening. I hope your day is off to a great start. It's Sunday morning. We got some things to talk about today of great interest and importance. We're going to be looking at the NBA once again. We're going to take a look and see in which direction the pros are going with 3 games on tap for today. We're also going to look at 3 baseball games as well, just as we did yesterday. And, of course, we're going to bring you up to date as to what happened yesterday in the world of sports as far as betting happens to be concerned. So thank you for listening. Welcome to the show. I hope you're having a great morning so far wherever you are, or maybe you're listening to the show later on in the day, and I hope you're having a great day so far at that point also. So let's get started. Let's go take a look and see what happened yesterday as far as wagering was concerned in major sports. To start off with, in the National Hockey League, the favorites went 3-0, so the favorites are back on top again in 4 playoff games, with the Penguins and the Islanders closing out as a pick'em. So the favorites went 3-0. You had one pick'em, and of course that pick'em comes off of the line here in Las Vegas. The Lightning minus 155 against the Panthers. The Maple Leafs are a minus 200 against the Canadiens. The Golden Knights are a minus 120 against the Wild. They won, and actually all the puck line favorites covered at 1.5 pucks as well, including the Islanders in that game as well. So in the National Hockey League, looks like the favorites are starting to bounce back again. Like we said, throughout the season, the favorites were really dominant for a few games so far this season. As far as the playoffs are concerned, some of the dogs have been coming in raising their heads and leaving the doghouse, as they say, on some rare occasions. Meanwhile, over in Major League Baseball, the favorites, they went 10-5. With the biggest upset being the Rangers, a plus 160 on the money line against the Astros. The Brewers were a plus 142 against the Reds. Now, there were some smaller ones, too. You had the Rays, the Rockies, and the Cardinals. They all came in winning as well. The favorites straight up are 55.4%. The unders went 8-7 yesterday, but the overs still lead at 50.2%, just a little over the 50-50 mark. Meanwhile, over in the NBA, the favorites and the underdogs, they split 2-2 straight up on opening day of the NBA playoffs. But the underdogs went 3-1 against the spread. So here, once again, as many times, 2-2 straight up, dogs 3-1 against the spread. The spread is what we're most interested in. The outright upsets came in both games in the Western Conference series. The openers were with the Mavericks, who were 6-point dogs against the Clippers, and the Blazers were 1-point dogs against the Nuggets. The Nets, who were 8.5-point favorites against the Celtics, were the only favorites to cover yesterday. The Bucks were 5.5-point favorites against the Heat. They did win 109-107 in overtime, but because of that 5.5-point spread, they were losers. So the Heat actually won that game as far as against the spread is concerned. But the unders, they started the playoffs 3-1 with the Blazers and the Nuggets at 226.5. That's the lone game that went over yesterday. The unders went 3-1. The one over game again, Blazers Nuggets at 226.5. So that's the story of the NBA, Major League Baseball, the National Hockey League. That's taking a look at what happened yesterday. And of course, today we're going to take a look at three games on tap for the NBA. At the 3:30 mark, we're looking at the Los Angeles Lakers and the Phoenix Suns once again. At 7 p.m., the Atlanta Hawks against the New York Knicks. And at 9:30, you got the Memphis Grizzlies against the Utah Jazz. Those are the three games we're going to take a close look at. We're going to see what the line movement is on those particular games and also kind of tell you in which direction the pros are going as far as the NBA is concerned. Also in baseball, we have three games we're going to talk about as well, but not in all the detail as we normally do. We'll try to keep the show within 35 to 40 minutes. Don't want to really go much over that. So there is no time. There's kind of a time constriction as to how much we can talk about as far as baseball is concerned. But at least what we'll do is tell you who they are and how the pros are going in those three games. And that's the Cubs against the Cards, the Brewers against the Reds, and the A's against the Angels. So that's the wrap up the things we're going to be talking about today. And of course, we're going to take our first break. And as usual, like we say, we do take three breaks within the show. Each one is of about 1 minute duration. So just to give you an idea, and if that's the truth, we will be back in 60 seconds. And welcome back. Welcome back to the Sports Wagering Zone. I'm Chris Pardo, coming to you live from Charlotte, North Carolina, as we are every Saturday and Sunday. The show at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Of course, during the week, we're on at 12 noon Eastern Time, Monday through Friday. So we're on the I-95 Sports and Entertainment Network, but perhaps you might be listening to us on one of your podcast platforms, such as Apple Podcasts or Amazon Music or Spotify or Spreaker or even Google as well. So thank you very much for listening. We're glad to have you on board. We're trying to do the best we can to try to bring you up to date as to try to make you a much better, that's what the word is, a much better handicapper. Because if you become a better handicapper, then of course you'll be having a more profitable season as well. So thank you for listening. Welcome to the show. Let's start looking at what happens in the NBA as far as the pros are concerned and in which direction the money line is going. The 3:30 game, you have the East, that's Eastern time, of course, the Los Angeles Lakers and the Phoenix Suns. Now, this is the first game of the Western Conference first round. The Lakers were 43-30 during the season, and they come in as the 7th seed, and they're riding a 6-game winning streak coming in to the playoffs. The Angels took down Steph Curry and the Warriors 103-100 in that play-in game, although they did fail to cover because they were 5.5-point home favorites in that particular game. Meanwhile, the Suns, who were 51-21 for the season, come in as the 2nd seed, and they've won their final 3 games of the regular season as well. Now, as we take a look at the line in this game, it opened with Phoenix, a 3-point home favorite. Now, the professional bettors and the general public, they seem to be both on the same team, grabbing the points with LeBron James and the Lakers, as we've seen it tick down from being a 3-point to a 2.5-point favorite. Okay. We've also seen some over money coming in. The total opened at 212.5. It's been bet down up to 213, and some of the shops are even looking at 213.5. Now, the Suns were one of the best over teams during the regular season. They went 42-30 for the year. The Lakers are a big under team, 42-29 to the under. Despite being the lower seed, the Lakers are a minus 175 favorite to win the series at BetMGM. The Suns, on the other hand, they're a plus 145 dog to win the series at BetMGM. So as far as the pros are concerned, they like the Lakers in this particular game, and they're going to take the points. Right now, it's down to 2.5. Again, we're talking about Las Vegas, wherever you are, wherever you do business, whatever part of the country you're in, you may have a slightly different line. Meanwhile, at 7 p.m., you have the Atlanta Hawks coming into New York to play the New York Knicks. This looks to be one of the most evenly matched Eastern Conference first-round games. The Hawks, who are 41-31, they come in as the 5th seed, and they enter the playoffs having gone 7-1 over their last 8 regular season games, 7-1. Meanwhile, the Knicks, who are 41-31 as well, they come in as the 4th seed, and they hold the home court advantage, even though the two teams have exactly the same one-loss record. So the game opened with the Knicks listed as a 2-point home favorite. The public is going and laying the short number with the Knicks at home. I guess primarily, even if you're living in the New York metropolitan area, it's a big thing because it's been a long time. It's been a drought for the New York Knicks fans. This is their first opportunity into the playoffs, so I know they're probably getting a lot of support from the home crowd. However, despite all this lopsided support that we've seen coming in on New York, we saw the number drop from 2 to 1.5. Now, some of the shops, before we went on the air, we take a close look, were down to even 1. So dropping from 2 to 1.5. Some of the shops are down to 1. What this means is that it's called a sharp reverse line movement on the road dog, the Atlanta Hawks. Now, the pro money is also leaning on the under in this game. The total opened at 215.5, and it's dropped slightly to 215. Now, both these teams have been pretty profitable to the under all season long. Atlanta is 37-34. New York is 40-32. Then the Hawks in this game, they're a slight minus 120 favorite to win the entire series. New York is a plus 100 to win the entire series as well. So in this particular game, the pros are on the Atlanta Hawks. The first game we talked about between the Lakers and the Phoenix Suns, the pros and the general public both agree. They both like the Los Angeles Lakers. So we have one more game to take a look at. That's the 9:30 game between the Memphis Grizzlies and the Utah Jazz. But let's take that second break, get it out of the way. We'll get into that game, and we'll kind of give you an idea as to how we did with the pro picks yesterday as far as the NBA was concerned. And of course, we're also going to talk some baseball as well. So let's take that second break. And just a reminder, you're in the sports wagering zone, and we'll be back right after this. And welcome back. You're back in the sports wagering zone. I'm Chris Pardo. Thank you very, very much for listening. We totally appreciate you listening to the show. We're coming to you live from Charlotte, North Carolina. We're here on the I-95 Sports and Entertainment Network. But of course, if you're listening to us on one of our podcasts, we're on Apple Podcasts, we're on Sprecher, Spotify, we're on most of the major podcasts. We're also broadcasting on television on the Blackjack Network over on the East Coast. So we're looking at the NBA games, trying to check the money line, the line movement, and which way the pros are going. So far, we had the Lakers against the Phoenix Suns. The pros and the general public all seem to agree the Los Angeles Lakers are the bet in that game. Meanwhile, the Atlanta Hawks against the New York Knicks, in that particular game, it's going to be the first game coming back to Madison Square Garden for a long, long time. The pros, they like the Atlanta Hawks in this game. It's a very close game. You got two teams that had the exact same record coming into the playoffs, 41-31. And of course, the Knicks are the home team. It's going to be a big celebration in New York. So this line could go any way possible. It's quite possible. And of course, depending on what part of the country you're in. But the pros in that game, they do like the Hawks. Meanwhile, the late game, the 9:30 game, Memphis Grizzlies, Utah Jazz. This is the Western Conference playoff showdown, and it's the final game of the day. And that usually means a lot of money starts coming in on the final game. Because first of all, you got the number of the money that's been coming in so far, whichever it is, whether it's the Memphis Grizzlies or the Utah Jazz, it doesn't matter. But what's going to happen is, as before game time, you're going to have bettors who bet the first two games. Let's say they did very, very well. And so they're going to come in and they figure they're on a hot streak, come in and play on this game as well. And then, of course, you're going to have the guys who kind of did, like easy. They won one, they lost one. They still feel like they want to bet one more game. It would be here. And, of course, the ones who lost both games, they're going to think here's my chance to get back and get even. They're going to do all this chasing is what we call. So that money's coming in. So whenever you have a late game, just like in the NFL, we have that Sunday night game at 8:15, 8:20 on NBC. It really takes in a lot of money because people are either trying to get back and get some profit, or they're doing so well that they want to increase their profit. They figure, I'm on a roll right now. Let me go in another game here. So anyway, the Grizzlies, they were 38-34. They won both their play-in games. They earned a postseason berth, and they beat the Spurs 100-96, and they upset the Warriors 117-112. They're now the 8th seed Grizzlies. They faced the number 1 seed Jazz, who were 52-20 on the season. They had a great season this year. They finished as the best regular season record in the NBA. The best record in the NBA. Now, in tonight's game 1, the Jazz opened. They were a 9-point home favorite, and why not? The public sees a number 1 seed playing an 8th seed, and they have no problem laying the points with the better team, especially now that Donovan Mitchell is set to make his long-awaited return into the lineup. But, as usual, despite a majority of the bets that have been coming in so far on Utah, we've seen the line drop from 9 down to 9.5. And what this means is it looks like the pros are grabbing the points with the road dog Grizzlies. The total has ticked up slightly from 215.5 up to 216. That means there's overaction on this game. The Jazz are huge, minus 1,400 on the money line favorites to win this series. Memphis is a plus 800 long shot. Now, that's courtesy of BetMGM, by the way. It might be slightly different depending on which house that you're dealing with. So in this particular game, Pros are really going with the true underdog in this game, the Memphis Grizzlies against the Utah Jazz. So once more, just to recap the three games that we looked at today, Los Angeles Lakers and the Phoenix Suns, the pros and the general public, everybody, they're all on the Lakers in that game. The Hawks and the Knicks, it's going to be a very tight game. It's going to be very close. Very low numbers in this game. The pros like the Hawks, the underdog in this game. And finally at 9:30, you got the Memphis Grizzlies and the Utah Jazz. You're looking at getting 8.5 or giving 8 points or so. Memphis Grizzlies, that's the choice of the pros. So those are the three games that they have chosen for today. And of course, it's up to you to take that information, whether you want to put it together with whatever type of system you're using, or perhaps you might just want to adopt this little method system that we've been talking about. Just to give you an idea, yesterday, we had three plays as far as the NBA was concerned. We had the Heat against the Bucks, and in that particular game, we had the Heat, and that was a winner. As far as the Mavericks and the Clippers were concerned, we had the Mavericks in that game. They won that. That was a winner as well. And the Trailblazers against Denver was another winning situation because we were on the Trailblazers. So yesterday we had three plays and we had wins. Doesn't mean we're going to do the same today, okay? But just kind of give you an idea as what it was yesterday. You can use that depending on how you think about it. You could say, hey, they're hot. I think I'll jump on with them. Or you could say, wow, they had three in a row yesterday. How can they have three in a row again today? So I may not bet with them. I'll bet against them today. So you see, you can take this information, and depending on what window you're looking through at the time, you can go in either direction. You can either go with the pros or you can go against them. That's totally up to you to decide. So that's the story as far as the NBA is concerned. We'll go over those three games, at least the teams that are involved in them, before the show's over, right near the end, just in case you missed anything, or just as a recap of what the pros are on for today. Now, in the meantime, just want to once again remind you that we're still talking about and we're thinking about doing this newsletter that will encompass a lot of data if you're interested in doing your own statistics. So this is very important if you're going in that direction. We're working on it. We're trying to work different things, trying to see what it is that we can put into it that would be of some great benefit to you if you do subscribe to the newsletter. So we'll find out more about it. We're working on it. We just need to know how many people are interested in participating with us on it. So if you are, just simply send us an email. Send it to the Sports Wagering Zone at gmail.com. That's the Sports Wagering Zone at gmail.com. And again, doesn't have to be a long-winded email. Just simply say, yes, I'm interested in the newsletter or something to that nature. And of course, then we'll get a hold of you as we start developing the whole program. Doesn't mean you're in it. Doesn't mean you have to be in it. It just shows that you have an interest in it. When we tell you what's going to be in it, eventually you may say, hey, that's not for me. I don't want any part of it. It's no problem. Okay. So, but at least we'd like to know how many people, because it's going to be a lot of work involved getting the early line movements out to you early in the morning. You'll have them before game time and before showtime, actually. Okay. So this way, if you're thinking about betting on any of the games, you'll have a heads up on them coming in early into the day. So let's, once again, that address is the Sports Wagering Zone at gmail.com. So let's take our final break. And when we come back, we're going to take a look at three games on the baseball lineup for today, kind of give you an idea of how this little method is working as well, and also bring you up to date as to how well or how bad it did yesterday. So just a reminder, you're in the Sports Wagering Zone, and you'll be back right after this message. And welcome back. You're back in the sports wagering zone. I'm Chris Pardo. Thank you very much for listening. Like I always say, we totally believe you. We appreciate you listening to the show. We hope you enjoy the show. If you do have any comments, just as we gave you the address before, we accept comments there as well. You can send them to the sports wagering zone at gmail.com because, like I said, we've been doing this show well over 5 years right now. We're kind of like in a bubble. We've been doing the show. We've been kind of staying with similar formats time and time again. And of course, every now and then we do get an email from someone and we make a slight change because we have to change with the times, as they say. So if there's something that maybe we talk too much about, maybe we don't talk enough about something, just let us know. We'll take a look at it. We'll look into it. And if it's something that we can change, make it for the better for you, be more than happy to do it. That address, once again, the sports wagering zone at gmail.com. Now, let's take a look at the 3 baseball games on tap for today. And like I said, we don't have much time to talk about the games in the full context like we normally do, like we just did with the NBA situation, because this time just doesn't allow it. We want to try to keep the show within the 35 to 40 minute level. We don't want to go much further than that because after a while you kind of lose interest in what you're listening to. So the 3 games we have on tap for today. First of all, we're talking about the Cubs and the Cardinals. The Cubs are set to face the Cardinals. You got Zach Davies going against Adam Wainwright, and they are currently listed as the probable pitchers. Now, this game, as we take a look at it, is pretty much of a toss-up. It's a plus 112 on the money line. It's kind of in that area, so it's not much money coming in one direction or another. In this particular game, the pros are on the Cubs against the Cardinals in the first game. The Brewers and the Reds in this particular game, we're looking at the Brewers and the Reds with Freddie Peralta and Luis Castillo. They're listed to start as the starting pitchers. We're looking to take the Brewers in this particular game, and because they will be favored, they're about a minus 120 on the money line. It could go in either direction, a little higher, a little lower, but the Brewers more than likely will be favored in this particular game. And also, the Athletics against the Angels, the A's and the Angels. Sean Manaea and Dylan Bundy are currently projected to be the starting pitchers for this game between the A's and the Angels. The Athletics are going to be slight favorites in this game. We're looking at the money line numbers on this game, and right now it's somewhere around minus 111, minus 110. So once again, just like the Cubs-Cardinals game, this is very close. It's very tight. It could go in either direction. So we're looking in this game at the Athletics to be bet to win this game as well. So that's the story on the 3 games we have lined up. Once again, we have the Cubs over the Cardinals, we have the Brewers over the Reds, and the A's over the Angels. Now, yesterday, we had 3 games, 3 selections. We had the White Sox against the Yankees. In that particular game, we had the Yankees, the Twins, and the Indians. In that particular game, we had the Twins. That was a loser. The Yankee game was a winner, obviously. Okay. Then the Rays and the Jays. In that particular game, we had the Rays over the Jays. So yesterday, we had 3 selections. We had 2 winners and 1 loser, for a grand total of 142 plays so far, 78 wins, 63 losses. That comes out to a 54.9. You're almost at 55% as a win percentage with this little model. Now, of course, the day before, just to give you an idea how things do run, we had 3 losers. Okay, the day before that, we had 2 winners and a loser. We've only had 3 losing days so far in the past 6 to 7 weeks of betting baseball. That's not a bad record at all. And of course, the other weeks well, we either had one win and two losers, or sometimes we'd have two winners and one loser. A couple of times we did have three winners as well. But the other day we had three losers. Yesterday we had two winners and one loser. Kind of give you an idea as to how that little method is running. So that this way, if you're interested in looking into it a little closer, it's there for you to see. And it's totally up to you to decide what it is you want to do. We're here just to try to help you out. If you've got a betting system or a handicapping system and you're happy with it, you're doing okay, you're happy with the results, fine, just stay with it. Maybe listen to some of the things we talk about, and on the side say, look, if I made this little change because of what I heard, what would have happened? And that's how you make tweaks and changes if they're necessary to a particular system to make it work even better. So this way you wind up with more of a profit at the end of the season, or maybe perhaps a profit at the end of the season as well. So that's the way to kind of handle it. We try to give you as much data as we can. Use it as you see fit. And like we always say, if you're happy with what you got, don't tinker with it. Listen to the show, see what we have to say, maybe get some thoughts on it, do a little side paper situation where you're using your system but making a little tweak with some of the information we give you. And if it looks like it's better, maybe you might want to make that adjustment. Maybe it's not going to make it any better. See how it works out. Again, we always leave it up to you. So that's the story as far as baseball is concerned. Once again, the three games on tap for tonight, with the Lakers and the Suns being the first game at 3:30 Eastern time. In this particular game, everybody seems to be on the Los Angeles Lakers. The general public and, of course, the professionals all like the Lakers in this game because they're getting a couple of points as well. Meanwhile, at 7 o'clock, between the Hawks and the Knicks, first time a playoff game in Madison Square Garden in a long, long time. Be a lot of pomp and ceremony. Be a lot of joy in New York and that particular area, or anywhere where there is a Knicks fan. You've been suffering over the past 15, 20 years. It's time now maybe to take a little light at the end of the tunnel and at least get into the playoffs. They're against the Hawks. This particular game, the pros are on the Hawks in this game. And finally, Memphis and Utah, the pros are on the huge underdog in this game. You're looking to pick up 8.5 points if you go with the Memphis Grizzlies. If you go with the Jazz, get ready to lay a lot of points. And on top of that, get ready to lay a lot of wood as well. So just kind of let you know what's going to be coming for the rest of the night. So that's the story with those three games. That in baseball, like the Cubs over the Cards, the Brewers over the Reds, and the A's over the Angels. So that's kind of the story as far as today's concerned. It's Sunday. We're going to be going into Sunday afternoon real soon. I hope you have a very pleasant Sunday. Hope you have a nice weather wherever you happen to be in. And of course, if you're going to be betting, I hope you have a very profitable day as well. I wish you the best of luck. We really want you to win. Whether you're using our methods or not, we don't care. We want you to be a winner. And as long as you're doing okay in that respect, that's all good and well. We're happy for you as well. So have a very pleasant Sunday. And just a reminder, we'll be back again tomorrow, Monday through Friday. We're here at 12 noon Eastern Time, live from Charlotte, North Carolina, on the I-95 Sports and Entertainment Network. So thank you very much for listening. Have a very pleasant Sunday. And like I said, if you're going to be betting any of the various games on for today, we wish you the best of luck. So I hope you have not only a pleasant Sunday, but also have a profitable Sunday. And generally, if that happens, if you have a profitable Sunday, more than likely, you can have a pleasant Sunday as well. So thanks again for listening. We'll be back again tomorrow, 12 noon Eastern Time, right here on the I-95 Sports and Entertainment Network. Bye, everybody, and enjoy your day.